It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Try Purple Access on for size. Zulgad, Chip Scoggins, Star Tribune sports columnist, and of course, executive producer Declan Goff. Purple Access sponsored by our friends at TCL TV. The football season is here, and ladies and gentlemen, that means you need to be watching games on a TCL, whether that be college or professional, and also by our friends at Surly Brewing. The Before I Die beer is out. It will be available at Vikings games at the stadium, and hopefully will prove to be a launching pad for an eventual Lombardi trophy, because we'd all like to see it win before we die. All right, Chip Scoggins, we've got final cuts. We've got, now to be clear, we're recording this at 12:05 on Wednesday, so the roster is in flux to a certain degree. Your initial thoughts, though, on the moves made by the Vikings' new team of Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell?
Well, you asked me at the end of our last week's show who would be my surprise cut. I did not see Armon Watts in that picture. That one surprised me. And I wonder, Judd, if he is one of those cases that I think we've talked about that just doesn't fit the new scheme. Yeah. I don't know if that's the case, if there's something else going on, but that's, that was going to happen. And I'm not saying this is, but that was going to happen where guys were either drafted for or brought in as free agents for a different scheme entirely, defensive, offense, and perhaps through no fault of their own, they don't fit with it. Maybe it's not they don't have the measurables that this coaching staff wants for a certain position, whatever. Because I don't think it's a situation where Armon Watts can't play. I think he has a chance to be a contributing on a team. So that one was a surprise. I was not surprised with the quarterback that they brought back, neither one of them, or released. And we'll see if Mannion. There was some talk that Mannion might wind up on the practice squad. Why, Judd? If that happens, now I will say, you need 3 quarterbacks in your program. You need one always on your practice squad, I think. Yep. I don't think you need 3 on the 53, but you don't want to have just 2 quarterbacks in your building. So
correct.
But I don't think that should be Sean Mannion. I think it should be someone else, whoever that is. But so no, other than the Watts one, I don't think there was any great revelation. The only revelation was they weren't crazy about Rick Spielman's 2021 draft.
Or you know what? And this is what Zimmer told Joe Schmidt before last season, I think, in training camp. And it was proven absolutely correct. I think he said, I like the top of our roster to about 25 or 26. And after that, it gets sketchy. And that's exactly, to their credit, what these guys went after. The bottom of that roster. So again, it proves the disconnect that existed between the GM and coach as far as being on the same page.
Well, and based on what we saw, Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi agree with the coach.
Yes,
because they gave that group a long look. It is amazing, though, Judd, that a quarterback taken in the 3rd round would get cut by a team after 1 year, even knowing that the new regime didn't draft him. And how did Spielman whiff so badly on Wyatt Davis? An offensive guard from Ohio State who's played in big games. I assume he must have been, pretty productive at Ohio State. But Judd, these are bad misses, and you wonder,
yes,
at what point does that having that many 3rd and 4th round guys not pan out that you moved on for? Does that catch up to you?
Yes, 100% right. Yes, agree completely. I mean, when you have 4 3rd-round picks, 3rd round, at the very least, those guys in year 1 should be candidates to be on special teams, and by year 2 should be pressing for jobs, and 75% of them get cut. Case in point, too, Chaz Surratt.
Yeah.
North Carolina quarterback converted to linebacker. That to me sounds like a 6th round project. And they took him 3rd round. And Patrick Jones, the defensive end or now outside linebacker from Pitt might turn out to be fine. But I'm with you, man. When you have to cut 75% of a 4-person third-round class, and then you cut a 4th-round pick,
Yeah,
that's why you get fired.
yeah, and it's and that's why you wonder about their depth and why
Yes.
Mike Zimmer was concerned about the depth, and he was right. I mean, he was right on Mond. Now, could he handle it a little more tactfully? Yes.
Right.
I didn't like the Green Bay response. That was not necessarily fair to the young guy, but so it'll be interesting to see because there'll probably be, I'm guessing, a waiver or 2 guys that they pick up. So the roster is still kind of in flux here for the next couple of days while everybody's sorting through this waiver wire.
Yep.
To see what position they address.
So let's talk about 2 in particular. One is there is a theme here, and I don't know exactly why, but there's a theme here that started actually with a decision on punter and to go with Ryan Wright.
Yeah.
To trim salary cap room. And that ends for sure with the decision to cut Watts and then make the trade for Blacklock, who plays the same position but is cheaper from the Texans, but has absolutely been a second round basically bust thus far and is terrible against the run. So I want to start with this one. What do you think they're doing there? Because there is no way they traded for Blacklock to start.
No, yeah, I mean, how much more in the salary cap flexibility did they get yesterday? Was it a couple million?
Yeah, they cut. Yeah, but it could be for like Sue after week 1.
Yeah, my guess is they have someone in mind, and my guess is it's a veteran that you sign after week 1, so you can pay him week by week, not the full thing.
Right.
So it feels like that was a step to get to another step, right? And I don't know what that is. But I don't think even up until the opener, I think that roster will continue to change throughout after that first week. And so maybe it's just getting more flexibility because they inherited a salary cap mess with all the dead money and that was left over for, some guys, Anthony Barr in particular. So some of it's probably just getting some flexibility, but I do feel like there's multiple things that they're eyeing right now that they know this roster is going to continue to be tweaked as they go along.
How comfortable are you going into week 1 at center?
Well, Judd, you're going to have a rookie right guard and a center who's underwhelming.
Yeah, against Kenny Clark.
And
then Philadelphia.
And Ingram might be, he might be an upgrade from what they have, but he's still a rookie, and to think he's not going to have rookie growing pains, that's probably unrealistic. I'm not comfortable at all at center, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know what Bradbury has done to earn their trust to where there was not a legitimate competition there. I don't, and even O'Connell came as close to acknowledging right during camp at some point, saying that the pass blocking was, I forgot how he phrased it. I don't know what evidence there is that there shouldn't have been a competition there. And you could say, well, that maybe there was with these veterans. There wasn't a competition there.
No. And what's weird to me is this. They basically gave a lot of, and probably justifiably so, Rick Spielman's draft classes a vote of no confidence on Tuesday. So this is where the Bradbury thing to me strikes me as weird. And I got to think that we're missing something here. Like, I got to think that there's another bailout plan in place or something, because why would you acknowledge as much as they basically did and then give Bradbury a vote, justifiably so, of no confidence by not picking up the 5th-year option?
Yeah.
But to your point, then go into the season and say, okay, kid, go get him as far as pass protection goes, which we know he has continued to struggle at through training camp.
Yeah, and then you're going to put a rookie right next to him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm baffled by it. And again, I liked what we've seen from Ingram there in the preseason, but it's not like you have a known high-level performer at guard that can help cover up, can help, minimize Bradbury's deficiencies. So, to me, that is unquestionably the number one concern, question mark, whatever you want to phrase it, going into the season. Just that interior, starting with Bradbury.
Absolutely. Hey, who from the draft class? Now that we're about to start the year, and a bunch of guys made it. Who from the 2022 draft class intrigues you the most beyond Scene? Who's not going to start, but clearly is going to be pressing to start? I think fairly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Scene would be the obvious one, but to me, it's Brian Asamoah. I mean, he's the guy that I remember the first day I was out there. I had a Vikings employee say, "Keep an eye on him. Like they really like him. They like that he's fast and can run." And we've seen that. We've seen the flashes, and I think he's, he's not going to start, but I won't be surprised if Donatel finds a role for him somehow in some capacity. I assume they're wanting him to be really good on special teams. Obviously, I just think he's the prototypical kind of modern day linebacker that can run sideline to sidelines fast, hybrid of a safety linebacker, and so he's a guy that I think has really stood out beyond everybody's looking at Scene to maybe slide into. And then Booth, I know he's had some dealing with some injuries, but he had a really strong start to camp.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, how much playing time he's going to get right off the bat. Because, I mean, the thing is, there's going to be injuries, and these guys are going to be pushed in the action, at some point here.
I got to think the long-term goal here going into 2023 is for Booth and Dantzler to start outside at cornerback. Yeah. I guess one thing I'm very curious to see, and it's a really hard position, in my opinion, to judge from practice. I'm really interested to see how good Shandon Sullivan is in playing the nickel, because I have no clue at this point.
I got to be honest with you. Like throughout training camp, I got so fixated on the defensive line and then the corners, that the outside guys, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to Shandon Sullivan, which is probably good because he didn't, he wasn't obviously, struggling or anything. I think he'll be, I don't know. I don't know what he'll be fine, good. I think that's to be determined. I was just sitting here thinking in my head too, the other rookie that I'm curious, because he flashed, but it's in preseason, you're playing third, but does he have a role? Ty Chandler.
Yes. Agreed.
Does he get on the field at all? I mean, he'd have to get pretty far down the depth chart. But is there a role for him?
I think if Cook gets hurt, which at some point in time he almost certainly will, if Madison stays, and I think he will, I honestly think that privately Chandler is going to jump Wongwu on the depth chart.
I do too.
Kane to me strikes me as a gimmick type of guy, and he's kickoff returns. My God, he returned two. So he's safe. I think Ty Chandler is a much more viable running back, though, on a regular basis than Wongwu probably is.
Yeah, and I have to balance it by, okay, he was going against third teamers, third teamers, so let's not get carried away on it. And that's why, there was talk about, and I know the reports that the Vikings were getting a lot of calls on Madison. I would listen to it, and if I got blown away, sure.
Agreed.
But if you did that and you traded him for whatever, let's say as a late rounder, which is probably realistic, and Dalvin sprained his ankle in week 1, would you be comfortable with Ty Chandler being the guy to get right off the bat? I think you need the insurance with if this team is going to compete now for a playoff spot, and
right,
I think you need the insurance, Judd.
Okay, so here's the one thing I don't know yet, and it's among the many reasons why I'm so curious. Like ordinarily with Spielman and Mike, it was like you knew exactly what you were probably going to get. You didn't know if it was going to be successful, but you knew the formula, right? So where I'm curious is this: offense and defense. How are guys used? How are positions used? Because previously I would say Madison can't go. But I mean, O'Connell comes from a background of interchangeable running backs. This guy's gone. Oh, okay, we'll put this guy in, then we'll put this guy in. So I guess my curiosity, and it's what's going to make the season a lot of fun, is to see how they change the emphasis not just of the people who play the positions, but the actual positions themselves.
Yeah, and the thing is we got zero glimpse of that in the preseason.
What's less than zero?
Yeah, less. I mean, I'm fascinated because there were no clues. One, personnel, they didn't play, and two, they're not going to show you anything remotely close to how they're going to employ the personnel. So, I mean, it is, we'll start to get the answers in the, September 11th. But yeah, I mean, if there were that many teams calling on Madison and they didn't make a move, either was everybody lowballing or were they just saying, you know what, let's just cool our heels here and make sure that we're covered at that spot,
Yes.
with a guy who has a track record before we just start, abandoning the script before the season even starts.
I heard they were asking for a 3rd round pick, and my guess is they were not going to get a 3rd round pick.
You're not going to get a third for him.
It's a fine ask, but I don't think you're going to get a 3rd round pick for a guy like that.
Yeah, and you're probably in the situation where, okay, we don't have to do, we don't have. It's not like you're being forced to trade him. It's not like, you need, now he's not coming back after this year, but you'll deal with that, I assume Madison's going to want to get a new deal elsewhere and have a, more prominent role. But
yeah,
you deal with that after the season. You're not being forced into trading him. So as for the Moon, if you don't get it, then you just sit tight and you have your insurance policy.
To backtrack on Bradbury, so here's my concern. I think that the Vikings, I think this coaching staff, and to a certain degree, Kwesi, I think they're reading the room okay on a bunch of things. Like I am curious about positions and what they're going to do to change the potential value of those spots with how they scheme and run things offensively and defensively. But to go back on Bradbury, I think my concern is this. I don't think you can get cute there. Like, I don't think that you can say, okay, Kirk, if you get rid of the ball in this amount of time against Kenny Clark, we're fine. To me, that's a bridge too far. That's where I have concern. And look, I mean, Chipper, we see this in all sports now. There's a definite feeling of I as a coach can outsmart the system. And sometimes you're exactly right. That's when I don't think that you can outgame the system.
No, because it just seems the strength factor, the size factor that is the deficiency there. And that's why I'm curious of, let's be honest, Judd, how often do players that have been in the league 5 years change dramatically?
Yes, they don't.
You sort of are who you are at that point.
Correct.
Right? Now you may, little improvements, but you sort of, this is who you are, right? And correct. I don't know. I know there's Bradbury got stronger, got a little bit bigger, but is that we saw some of the same things throughout training camp, right? And so I don't know how they're going to correct that without. Can you scheme that to help them? Can you? That's
what I'm saying. Is I don't know if you think that you can. I think it ends at a certain point. I think you can scheme a lot of things up. I don't think you can scheme, and you're right. You've got a rookie to your right, your immediate right side. Now he might eventually be great. I have no idea, but you're playing the Packers week 1. That's an important game. And there is no way that you can go to Ed Ingram and say, hey, kid, you're going to have to cover for 56. That don't work.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just surprised that there wasn't a legitimate competition there. Because the thing is like when you didn't give him the 5th-year option, you're basically, that's a vote of no confidence. Or you're saying this is an absolute prove-it year. You have to prove it that, that there wasn't a legitimate competition there. I'm surprised by that. Again, maybe they have a way to mitigate it through scheme and what they're asking him to do. I don't know, but it just seems like when he faces, I don't know how you, and you're facing more and more of those big, mountainous, powerful nose tackles in this league that the teams realize, getting the pass rush right up the gut is you can disrupt everything because it's so fast to the quarterback. And everybody's looking for that, that pass rushing nose tackle now that's humongous, and it just overpowers them. And so I don't know. I'm curious to see how if they can help him and again mitigate it, but I have my doubts.
Just think about this as far as strategy and game planning goes now, Chipper. And I love this fact, but but conversely, it's scary. Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter at times are going to line up against interior linemen on the opposing team. Like imagine that Garrett Bradbury looks up and sees that team's Danielle Hunter. Yeah. You need to be a Pro Bowl center to stop that guy.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, if Donatel was going against this offensive line as an opponent with what their personnel, he would do the same thing, right? I don't know how many snaps you would see Zadarius Smith and Danielle inside right there, but it would happen, and I bet it would happen, quite a bit because, as he said, they're going to try to pick out their strongest against your weakest link. So.
I agree. Speaking of competition, Chip Scoggins, I know when it comes to sports, you love competition, but when it comes to beer, in the Scoggins household, is there a competition for your friends from Surly Brewing?
There is no competition. There's nothing that stacks up to Surly. Furious up here.
Yep. Rank them.
Who's QB2? Who's quarterback? Who's the quarterback 2 in that depth chart of Chip Scoggins and the Surly Beers?
I think I know where he's going.
The bomb.
It is the bomb. It's the logic bomb. We turned him on to it. Now he's addicted. It's great.
That's what we say. Hey, can you put a bomb for me in the freezer?
The bomb. Well, and what's great is the wife loves the bomb too now, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, she loves
the logic bomb's part of her life too.
Yeah. So but there is no competition when it comes to Surly.
So you basically got in your fridge. You basically have Montana and Young.
That's right.
Like the bomb's like, why am I not number one? And Furious is like, no, I'm not getting traded to the Chiefs. I'm number one. You're number two.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the GOAT? That's me, buddy.
The GOAT. Yeah, exactly. I'm Furious. Buzz off. Hey, Dex just sent me this report from Tom Pelissero, our friend who used to work with us, obviously, 1500 ESPN, now of NFL Network fame. Chip, you'll be sad to know the Seahawks are expected to sign veteran quarterback Sean Mannion to their practice squad, and Kellen Mond earlier today was claimed by the Cleveland Browns.
That one surprises me. Both of them do. Again, coaches think they can always find the fix, the answer, right? And maybe Stefanski can pull something out of him. I don't know.
I think that's a Kubiak thing too, because I think Gary and Clint pushed for Mond to be picked by Rick. Yeah. And I know that the Kubiaks and Stefanski from their time here are tight. Sure. My guess is the Kubiaks vouched for Mond and explained that this was all Zim's fault, probably.
Yeah, so they're gonna have to find a quarterback for the practice squad, I would think, right? I mean, just
yes, they have. Yeah.
Now, you can find a young guy and whoever. I'm sure there'll be some on the waiver wire that you'll be able to do. But I think you'll want to have, I would think at all times 3, 2 on the active, 1 on the practice squad, and so we'll see where they go. I'm surprised, Mannion's. I wonder how long he's going to do this before he just says, I'm going into coaching, because I think everybody assumes he's going to be an NFL head coach sometime, or
at least a coordinator. Yeah,
coordinator.
And Cousins definitely tried to keep him here. So Kirk definitely tried to, and I think that they did talk about a practice squad spot, but he's probably mad now. And look, he was quoted more than once as saying, "I've had a really good camp." So in his mind, I guess he was playing well. I mean, it's not what I saw, but it doesn't matter what I saw. I guess
that one
matters what he saw.
If he's going to another team's practice squad, he's mad, right?
Yeah,
because it's not like he's going to another team's 53. I mean, you're going there to be on the practice squad. So, I mean, I would have done the same thing the Vikings did. Now let's see who they bring in here.
Last thing for you. What was the most pleasant surprise or thing that you didn't expect from watching practices and the preseason games?
Most pleasant surprise I didn't expect. Because
we talked about the bad, but like they're,
Can it be from practices or just preseason?
Anything. Nope. Anything.
I think
blank hand.
Danielle and Zadarius Smith, just the way they're employing them. It's good. 1, they look healthy. That's the number 1. But 2, just how particularly Danielle comfortable he seems with the new things that they're asking him to do, stand up, drop, go inside. I mean, this is a guy who's, as he reminded, what's this, year 8? So he's, he's not a young guy. He's been pretty well trained to do one thing and one thing really well. And now it's they're asking him to do different things. And he looks pretty doggone comfortable doing it. He seems, talking to him, invigorated by it.
Yep.
I think the relationship with Zadarius has been good for him. I think it's, I don't want to say Neil's in a shell, but he's been more talkative this camp than I can remember. And so I think I think Zadarius' personality is rubbing off on him, and I assume he's sharing some tips with him that because he's been in this system and asking him to do. So I think I'm excited to see those two because I think it could be really, if they stay healthy, I think it could be really, really good.
And I think Zadarius is so gregarious that it brings out a side of Daniil that might have existed in the locker room previously, but definitely didn't outside, and it's fun. And look, Daniil Hunter is a great player and has been for a long time. And he's been hurt for 2 years. And even before that, it started to seem, and he was still productive. But in 19, it felt at times like he did, like you'd watch him and you're like, how much fun is that guy truly experiencing? And now, because of Smith, it seems like a ton. But to your point too, the thing that I am, so like for all we discuss Jefferson, who could be unbelievable, the offense, I think I'm most excited now to see the defense because it's going to be so damn multiple too.
And it's going to be different than what
oh yeah.
I mean, you sort of, Jefferson's going to catch a lot of passes, Dalvin, what he's going to do, Kirk's going to put up good numbers, Thielen's going to catch touchdown passes. There's just such newness with the defense, both in scheme and having guys back and new players. And after being so awful last year, like that's the area, that's the side of the ball that I'm probably most fascinated with.
I agree completely. All right, Chip Scoggins, we'll talk to you next week and preview week 1 Vikings Packers. Thanks, man.
Can't wait, man. See ya.
Talk to you.